Well, in the short term, what's going to happen in the Middle East is very, very important, of course. But nobody knows at this moment. This Israel's attack over Iran and Iran's counterattack makes a very sensitive situation, dangerous situation in the U.S., in the region. And IEA, International Energy Agency, said that this is a very critical situation. Even for the decades, Israel and Iran has a kind of shadow war. But now, actual, battle is starting. So this is getting a very serious situation. And I think IEA is well prepared for what's going on and what's going to happen. But still, the oil companies, energy companies must be aware and prepare for the emergency situation. So the discussion in the Japan Energy Summit, we cover this short-term geopolitical turmoil as well, top subject. And we ask questions to the CEOs and other players about how they prepare. Of course, they have very much diversified sources. So Middle East is important, but their idea is just they can take care of the situation by the different sources, and they have the good portfolio. But nonetheless, Japan depends 95% of oil from Middle East. And this situation has been getting worse and worse. So Japan is very vulnerable to the political turmoil in Middle East. So we have to get prepared. I mean, we don't have time to lose. We have to work closely with our allies, our friends, and energy companies to prepare. And METI is now, in a way, in the center and try to make up a contingency plan for the future. So this is a real challenge for everybody, and we have to just watch carefully and prepare for whatever the things come out. This seventh energy basic plan is a METI's preparation for the long-term challenge of energy security as well as sustainability. So METI is, as every 3 years, they revise this basic plan. And this year's plan is a very enormous, consideration about energy security. The last one, the sixth energy plan, is basically decarbonization. Now we have to also consider about the energy security in a much serious manner. Of course, we have to progress and make a strong, promotion of renewable energy. In the power sector, renewables should be 40 to 50% by 2040. Nuclear should play about 20%. And thermal power, which could be with lots of hydrogen or clean ammonia kind of thing, will be mixed, but still continue to share about 30 to 40%. So this is a very important, and also important thing is increase of demand for electricity. The AI's data centers are now happening in all the countries. The demand increase. It used to be that sixth plan, there's a decrease of the power. So this makes the, energy security and sustainability challenge much more difficult. So METI is preparing the related support measures like GX subsidy or research, etc. But this plan has a contingency scenario, the risk scenario. If nuclear power cannot reach 20% of the power, if renewables cannot be deployed as the plan, maybe we have to use more liquefied natural gas in the future. So this gap was calculated, and it means that it should increase about 20 million tons more than the plan. So contingency plan, then who should take care of this 20 million tons of LNG? Who should pay, where to get, the private sector, of course, collaboration of private sector and government is necessary. So plan gives a kind of reality check. And this is a very new element which we discussed at Japan Energy Summit and what's the implication. So collaboration of the government with the private sector and good understanding what government is thinking, this kind of predictability and stability is definitely necessary to prepare for the uncharted progress into the future. That's a very important point. Always Japanese audience or Japanese policymakers or Japanese companies, in many cases, they are oriented in a domestic discussion. Of course, that is important. Oil prices or gas prices, the security of the supply, it's a very domestic, even a political issue. So Japanese government is paying the subsidy to the oil as well as electricity. But when we consider the future as a sustainable future, we are thinking of taxation, carbon tax, or carbon trading in the future. So the short-term measures for inflation and long-term measures of sustainability is subtly in a different direction. So what this kind of summit can make a difference is that we can put the global context into the Japan's policy making. And Japanese policymakers, industries should clearly understand what's going on all over the world, in the short term, in the longer term. Yes, Japan initiated the hydrogen economy and started the fossil fuel cell vehicle and transportation of liquefied hydrogen or MCH or ammonia. So Japan has started this hydrogen economy, but because of turmoils, because of limitation of resources and change of policies, there's a certain delay. So we have to understand what's going on, and then for Japan, for the sake of sustainability as well as national security, what Japan should do, we have to, Japanese government is thinking about 20 trillions of yen for the subsidy for the project of decarbonization. But is it enough? The private sector also should invest 120 trillion yen on top of this 30. How can that kind of mobilization of finance works? We need international collaboration and international financing mechanisms work together. Otherwise, this energy security and sustainability challenge cannot happen. And for example, China is doing a really very big move about decarbonization by electrification, using renewables, nuclear, electric vehicle, batteries, and very strongly committed to that direction. But China is doing for the sake of energy security, just reducing the fossil fuel importation from Middle East, from Russia, or from the United States. On the other hand, United States, under Mr. Trump's presidency, their issue is, okay, make a, let's say, drill baby drill policy is making the fossil fuel first. And I feel as energy experts, global energy experts, Americans moving into more fossil fuel alliance with Russia and Saudi Arabia. So China's movement is totally against it. And Europe is doing exactly the same thing as China. So these two groups of fossil fuel union and renewable superpowers are fighting in a way in a global context. Sustainability and energy security kind of battle. Japan and Korea, who do not have any indigenous oil, gas, what should we do? Should we go with American coalition of fossil fuels, or should we work with China and Europe for energy security as well as sustainability? This is a huge difficult geopolitical choice for two countries. So I'm arguing in this Japan Energy Summit, Japan and Korea should work together, and Taiwan work together, because we are in the same kind of situation. We should work closely to develop the nuclear, next generation nuclear small modular reactors together, even submarines, and also developing the hydrogen supply chain together. Well, we can work some part with US, some part with China and Europe. So this kind of global geopolitical and decarbonization strategy is definitely necessary to make your domestic policy. So I hope Japan Energy Summit is a place to provide the information and ideas to the policymakers to help them to make a good plan for the future.